Hey everyone, Jack Powers back with another exciting episode of Infamous Federal Prisoners. And look, today we're going to talk about Eric Rudolph, the Centennial Park bomber. This happened back in 1996. Eric Rudolph, by his own admission, planted a bomb, pretty big bomb, under a park bench during a centennial celebration downtown Atlanta. And the Centennial Park, in Atlanta. And, eventually the bomb went off and it wounded about over 100 people, and it killed one person outright because there was nails in it. One of those nails went through a person's skull. And another person died trying to run to the scene it was a cameraman from another country, I guess. Eric Rudolph is at the ADX. I've seen him several times when I was there. But this is not, I'll try to say some things about Eric. His parents were pacifists. They were Christians. They were pacifists. They protested the war in Vietnam. That's how they met. There was, he didn't, I guess he didn't have the early childhood, like, traumas or dramas that make most people a little bit antisocial or, somehow weirded out in their thinking. But later on, he did have some influences in his teenage years that are most likely and probably the cause of a lot of his subsequent thoughts and actions. So, because the way we feel affects the way we think. The way we think affects the way we act. It's chain reaction. So if you have certain feelings, you're going to have certain thoughts or vice versa that goes with it. And then that's going to create this motivation to act. So Eric Rudolph felt really strongly against abortion. He was anti-gay. He was very much homophobic. And he just was really anti-government generally. And that, I think, came from when the family moved to North Carolina after his dad died. He was still a teenager. And he immediately fell in with these folks around there who, have a lot of these beliefs. And I'm not saying that the beliefs are right or wrong or what have you. All I'm saying is you probably really don't need to go out and put bombs around and, injure innocent people, kill innocent people. For what? What kind of, how does that get your beliefs to be accepted or to be heard, or how does it validate them? If you're going to go out and do something atrocious, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work. So now Eric's in ADX. He's been there since, I think, 2006 or 7, if I remember correctly. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but it was right around there. And he's, embraced Islam now. He just kind of hangs out like everybody else, 24 hours a day in the cell, probably a small TV. Little game sheets that they pass out to play bingo or what have you. That's about it. get a little commissary, and you just etch out your own little time right there. You have a lot of time on your hands to think about everything. And I'm sure that he would love to get out of there. I'm sure that he would love to do it all over again, perhaps. No matter what he says. I mean, I doubt that he's so dense that he doesn't admit, at least to himself, that doing what he did didn't come off the way he wanted it to. It was a mistake, in other words. But this really isn't about Eric Rudolph per se. It's about how the criminal justice system, the law enforcement element of the criminal justice system, went awry in this case. This was a major event when that bomb was discovered. It was discovered by a security guard. You know, somebody hired to do security down there at the Centennial Park during the celebration. And his name was Richard Jewell. And he's the one that first saw the bag and then alerted his superiors that there was something suspicious about this parcel, this backpack that was left under a bench. And there was an ATF guy who eventually kind of crawled on his belly and got up to it and very carefully, gingerly started to look inside of it. And according to Mr. Jewell, the ATF agent suddenly just froze with his little pen light. He just suddenly froze, stiff, and just rolled to the side and rolled out of there and got up and took off running over to his other comrades, agents. So then it was a matter of them trying to clear the place out. And at the same time, I don't think any of them wanted to get close enough to that bomb. They didn't know when it was going to go off. It was literally a ticking time bomb. Now, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe that ATF agent should have just pulled a wire. It's not like the movies where you've got some sophisticated gadgetry going on where if you pull or clip the wrong wire, it's going to blow up. But, who knows, really? Who could make that call? You're talking about human nature. You're talking about people being on the scene, but reluctant to act. There's been many of these different instances over the years that I've seen where the law enforcement are not going to put themselves in harm's way in order to, in order to protect the public. When it comes right down to it, you've got a few who will, and you've got a lot who won't. No matter what the job description, no matter that they are charged with protecting the public and that they are charged with sacrificing their own lives, just like military people, if called upon to do so in the course of their duties. But like the officers at Uvalde, hanging out and not rushing that dude, or not even really trying to put a beat on him while he was in the classroom killing little kids. I know what that situation feels like. I know when a human being is faced with imminent mortal danger. There's all kinds of stories about guys who just froze up. Guys that, they'd have a shank in prison pulled on them in the cell or whatever by their cellie, and they would just freeze. They would just go into complete, they couldn't move. It'd be like a paralysis of some type. The fear they just couldn't move. But let me tell you, freezing up, it's not a good answer to those circumstances or situations. At that point, you sort of got to throw caution to the wind. You got to say, okay, look, let's do whatever I have to do here to do the right thing and do what needs to be done. You think I'm just going to stand there frozen or be so scared that I'm unable? It's okay to be scared. It's fine to be scared. Everybody gets scared. But it's what you do while you're scared is what you're able to do. And, once you, I think, get past that, once you just say, hey, fuck it, I've got to do this, then you can move past it and get past that fear that freezes people up. You just got to forget about yourself. You got to forget about your own safety and well-being and do what needs to be done in the circumstances. That's just my take on it. That's just my take, my personal take. I'm not criticizing, I'm not analyzing really that much. I'm just saying that's my take on it. If you're charged with protecting the public, then you have to protect the public. You have to be a certain kind of person in order to have that position in the first place. And so what happened here was the bomb did eventually go off, and it injured over 100 people and killed at least one person. So it was a major case, a major event, and the government wanted answers right away. So obviously they're going to take every little microscopic fiber that they could find from that crime scene and put it through extensive analysis, trying to find out where it was manufactured, what the materials were, where the distribution outlets were, who could have bought this stuff and put this together. Were there any kind of DNA markers? Were there any kind of other identifiers on any of it that could be used to find out who left this bomb, who made this bomb and left it there? And, during the course of this investigation, of course, the FBI has a lot of profilers. And I think that it's helpful in probably some, if not all, criminal investigations like this one. You probably have to have some people who can look at the scenario overall and come up with kind of a description of the type of person that would do something like that. A psychological kind of analysis. But here, I guess their profiling went way wrong, because they started looking at Richard Jewell, the hero security guard, the guy who first spotted it and brought it to everybody's attention. Now, has this happened in the past where somebody goes out, somebody who works for a fire department, they go out and they set a fire, and then they have an opportunity to get into the act and be a hero, or have some kind of activity behind their duties? Yeah, it's probably happened numerous times, and I think it's borne out by some evidence anyway. But this was this had some different contours to it, and I don't know, but what they jumped the gun, because they took this poor Richard Jewell and they honed in on him. Here's a guy he was then, I think, in his mid or late 30s, and he was just trying to be a good citizen, just trying to be a good, solid, straight up dude. And they honed in on him. If he'd have been weaker minded, he probably, they probably put him through umpteen interrogations. He might have even broke down and made a false confession. If he had of, if Richard Jewell had been weak of mind and had broken down and made a false confession, he's the one that would have been in ADX right now instead of Eric Rudolph. Richard Jewell would have been there. And Eric Rudolph would have been laughing his ass off because he would have been still out around the woods and backcountry of North Carolina. Probably would have closed up shop on that episode of his life and would have went on to something else. And who knows what that might have been. Might have been something even more egregious. But they gave Richard Jewell the blues. Here's how bad it got. It got bad enough where his mother, he lived with his mother. It got bad enough where his mother had started having serious medical problems. It got bad enough, I believe, the stress, the pain, the emotional and psychological demands of being falsely accused like that and put under the spotlight. I think it got bad enough where it affected his health. Richard Jewell died when he was just 44 years old. They said it was natural causes. But, what is a natural cause? When your body and your mind have had to go through that kind of an ordeal, that kind of stress. I can't even imagine the horror. And, there's a backstory. There's a couple of backstories that I know about. And I know about these backstories personally. And I'll tell you what these backstories are and how the FBI agent in charge of that case went off track, and why, and how this whole thing came down. But I'm going to have to do it in another episode because the time now has passed for this one. So again, anyone out there, new viewers, please subscribe. Please order copies of my book, ADX Supermax, the Alcatraz of the Rockies, the manual program, Lock and Key, Pacing the Cage. These are a few of the books that I've written. Wrote most of them while I was at ADX, or at least got a good start on them. And it would help out a lot if you would purchase one or more. And I appreciate you and look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Namaste.